The blast came without warning, tearing through the quiet marketplace like a thunderclap. 1 second, people were laughing, bargaining, and shouting over the noise of alien vendors. The next, a blinding flash and a wave of heat ripped through the air. Stalls shattered. Fruit, glass, and metal flew in every direction. Smoke rolled in thick and fast, choking the air. Marcus didn't think. He saw her, a small alien girl with wide, glassy eyes, frozen in place as burning debris rained down. She looked no older than 12 in human years, though her pale skin shimmered faintly blue under the twin suns. She didn't move. She didn't even blink. She was standing right in the path of the exploding shrapnel. He lunged. The world slowed. Metal shards and jagged fragments spun toward her like hungry knives. He grabbed her by the shoulders, pulling her to the ground, wrapping his own body over hers like a shield. Pain tore through his side, hot, sharp, and deep. Something punched into him hard enough to knock the air from his lungs. His vision blurred, and the sounds of chaos became muffled, like he was sinking underwater. He tasted blood. Her voice trembled beneath him. "Why? You don't even know. Me? Doesn't matter," he muttered, his voice a rasp. "Stay down." The last thing he saw before the darkness swallowed him was her eyes, huge, glowing faintly now, and the way she clutched his arm, as if afraid letting go would mean losing him forever. He woke to voices, soft ones, strange ones. The air smelled different. Sweet, almost like flowers mixed with metal. His side throbbed with every breath, but when he tried to move, he realized his body was wrapped in some kind of warm, glowing fabric. It pulsed, faintly, almost alive, knitting his torn skin back together. Light filtered through something above him like the inside of a dome. The shapes leaning over him weren't human. They were tall, slender bodies, pale skin with shifting colors beneath the surface, and eyes too large for their faces. Their clothes were made of shimmering threads that moved like water when they walked. He blinked, trying to focus. "Where am I?" One of them leaned closer, tilting her head. She was young, maybe close to his age in appearance, with long silver hair that seemed to float on its own. "You are safe," she said softly. "You saved the child. We brought you here." The child from the marketplace appeared beside her, peeking around the taller alien's legs. When she saw him looking, she stepped forward and held up a small object, a smooth crystal sphere. "For you," she said. "It's... Thank you." Marcus tried to sit up, but the glowing fabric tightened against his chest, holding him in place. "How long was I out?" The tall alien hesitated. 3 cycles of the suns." 3 days? He asked, startled. She nodded slowly, as if weighing each word. "We thought you would not survive. Few humans would with such wounds." He glanced around the room. The walls were made of some kind of pale stone shot through with veins of light. Strange symbols glowed faintly along the surface, and a low hum filled the air. He felt like he was inside a living thing, but it wasn't just the place. It was the way they looked at him. Every alien in the room seemed tense, watching him with an intensity that made his skin prickle. The tall woman's expression was calm, but there was something else in her eyes, like she was searching for something. Marcus broke the silence. "I need to contact my people, my ship." "No," she said sharply, and the child flinched at her tone. Then the woman softened her voice. "Not yet. There are matters you do not understand." He frowned. "I don't even know your name." She studied him for a moment, then said, "I am Lysara, guardian of the third dome, and you, human, are now under our protection, whether you want it or not." That last line stuck in his head. Protection from what? He remembered the blast, the market, the metal tearing into him. It could have been a random attack. Or it could have been aimed at her, the little girl he'd saved. But why would anyone target a child? Lysara stepped closer, her silver hair catching the light. "You will rest. Your body still fights the damage. But when you are strong enough, we will speak of what comes next." "What comes next?" Marcus asked cautiously. Her eyes met his, and in that moment he saw something he didn't expect. Fear. "The ones who planted the device will come for you," she said quietly. "They will not forgive what you did. And now, they will see you as part of her fate." Marcus's pulse quickened. Her fate? What does that mean? But Lysera only turned away, speaking in her strange language to the others. The child slipped closer to him, her small hand brushing his. "Don't be afraid," she whispered. "You saved me. I won't let them hurt you." Marcus wasn't sure if that was a promise she could keep. But he knew one thing. Whatever he had stumbled into, it was bigger than just an explosion in a market. And if someone was willing to kill a child over it, then the danger ahead was worse than he imagined. Marcus's dreams were strange that night. He saw fragments of the explosion, only this time the shards were glowing symbols, twisting in the air like they had meaning. The child's eyes shone brighter than the twin suns, and voices whispered, in a language he didn't understand. Then came the sound of metal scraping stone, and a shadow that swallowed the marketplace whole. He woke with a start. The dome was dim, its light veins pulsing slow, as if the place was sleeping. The glowing fabric around his torso had loosened, and he could finally sit up. Every muscle ached, but his breathing was easier. The child was curled up near his bed, her small frame wrapped in a thin silver blanket. Lysera was nowhere in sight. For the first time since he woke in this place, he was alone enough to look around properly. He noticed the walls weren't solid. They shifted faintly, almost like a living skin. Patterns ran along them in loops and spirals, and as his eyes followed the shapes, a shiver ran down his spine. They weren't just decoration. They were moving because they were reacting to him. The child stirred and blinked at him sleepily. "You're awake." "I guess I am," Marcus said, trying to smile. "Do you have a name?" She hesitated, then said, "Sira." "That's pretty," he said. "Sira, do you know why someone would try to hurt you?" Her face turned serious. She sat up, clutching the crystal sphere she'd given him earlier. "Because I am not supposed to be here. I am important to them, but not in a good way." Before Marcus could ask more, the sound of footsteps echoed. Lysera entered, carrying a small tray with steaming bowls. She gave him one without a word. The soup was thick and green, tasting like herbs and metal. It burned his throat, but the warmth spread through his body like fire in a cold room. "You should not push her for answers," Lysera said, seating herself across from him. "There are truths that could place you in greater danger than you already face." Marcus frowned. "Too late for that. You said whoever planted the bomb would come for me. If I don't even know why, how am I supposed to survive?" Lysera's eyes narrowed. "Humans are persistent. That may be why you are still breathing." She leaned forward. "Do you know what you did in that marketplace?" "I took shrapnel to save a kid," Marcus said flatly. "You did more," she said. "The fragments that struck you were not metal. They were part of a binding device, technology forbidden for centuries. When your blood touched it, the device recognized you." Marcus blinked. "Recognized me? For what?" "To protect her," Lysera said. "You are bound now. Life for life. If you die, she dies. If she dies, you will not survive either." The words hit him like another explosion. "That's impossible." "Not in our laws," Lysera said. "Not in our science." The revelation left a cold knot in his stomach. It also explained the way Sira clung to him like a shadow. "So that's why they'll come for me," Marcus said slowly. "Yes," Lysera replied. "You have become her shield, and they will want the shield broken." Marcus set the bowl down, his appetite gone. "Then I need to get stronger." Lysera studied him for a long moment. "We can teach you our ways, but understand human strength is different from ours. It will take both to keep her alive." Before Marcus could answer, the dome walls rippled. A faint chime rang out. Low, urgent and wrong. Lysera shot to her feet. "They have found us." In seconds, the calm room turned tense. Shadows moved beyond the dome's translucent skin. Tall figures in black armor pressed their hands against the walls, sending dark ripples across the glowing surface. Their helmets were featureless, their movements precise and deliberate. Lysera grabbed a spear-like weapon from the wall and tossed Marcus a smaller, curved blade. "Stay behind me," she ordered. Marcus gripped it, feeling the strange material hum against his palm. "Who are they?" "The hunters," she said grimly. "They serve the ones who planted the device. They will not stop until you are both dead." The walls pulsed harder, as if straining under the intruder's touch. Syrah moved close to Marcus, her eyes wide but her voice steady. "Don't let go of me." Suddenly, a crack split the dome's surface, spilling shards of glowing material onto the floor. One of the black armored figures stepped through, moving with the slow confidence of a predator. He raised a weapon Marcus didn't recognize, its tip glowing with a deadly red light. Lysera moved first, striking with her spear. The clash rang through the chamber, and the alien warrior staggered back. Two more hunters stepped in, and the fight became chaos. Light, shadow, and the sound of weapons striking. Marcus didn't think. He pulled Syrah behind one of the glowing stone supports and crouched low. But even as he hid, his mind kept replaying Lysera's words. Life for life. If she died, so did he. And judging by the way these hunters moved, they wouldn't hesitate to kill a child. One of the hunters spotted them and advanced, weapon raised. Marcus's grip on the blade tightened. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a hero. But right now, if he didn't act, they'd both be dead. He stepped out from behind the pillar, heart pounding, ready to fight. The hunter came at Marcus fast, moving like liquid shadow. Its weapon hummed, the red glow growing brighter. Every step it took seemed to shake the floor. Marcus's pulse roared in his ears, but he didn't back away. He raised the curved blade. Lysera had given him, gripping it in both hands. The first strike nearly knocked him off his feet. Sparks burst where metal met the alien's weapon. The force rattled his arms, but he managed to push back, sliding to the side. The hunter was taller, stronger, and faster, but Marcus had one advantage: desperation. The alien swung again. Marcus ducked low, slashing upward. The blade cut into the black armor, leaving a thin, glowing scar. The hunter staggered, its head turning sharply as if surprised that a human could land a blow. From the corner of his eye, Marcus saw Lysera holding off the other two hunters. Her spear moved in blurs, striking with precision, each blow ringing like a bell. She fought like someone who had trained for a lifetime, but even she was being pushed back toward the far wall. Syrah stayed behind the pillar, clutching her crystal sphere. Her lips moved in a whisper, and Marcus realized she was chanting in her language. The sphere began to glow softly in her hands. The hunter, before Marcus, lunged again, stabbing for his chest. He twisted sideways, feeling the heat of the weapon as it passed inches from his ribs. In one motion, he stepped in close, driving his blade into the gap between armor plates. The alien let out a sharp hiss, then stumbled back and collapsed to one knee. Marcus didn't wait for it to recover. He yanked the blade free and turned toward Lysera. "Behind you!" he shouted. She spun, stabbing her spear into one attacker's chest. The other swung for her head, but the hunter in front of Marcus was already moving again. It didn't matter. Before it could strike, the light from Syrah's sphere flared so brightly the whole dome turned white. The hunters froze mid-movement. The glow wrapped around Marcus too, warm and heavy, sinking into his skin like sunlight on a winter day. Then just as suddenly, the light was gone. The hunters staggered back, their armor dim, their weapons dead. Without a word, they retreated through the cracked dome wall, disappearing into the shadows outside. Silence fell. Marcus was breathing hard, his hands shaking from the fight. Lysera lowered her spear slowly, watching the retreating figures until they were gone. Then she turned to Syrah. "What did you do?" Syrah's voice was quiet. "I called the link." Lysera's eyes widened. "You should not even know how." Marcus looked between them. What's the link? Lysara took a long breath. The binding device that connected you two. It is more than a life bond. In ancient times, it allowed a guardian to draw on the strength of their shield, and the shield to draw on the life force of the one they protected. It is forbidden for a reason. Marcus stared. So what she just did? Fed you power, Lysara finished. It made you faster, stronger, harder to kill. Marcus remembered the fight. The way his reflexes had felt sharper, his movements more precise. He had thought it was just adrenaline. If she can do that, he said slowly, why is she in danger at all? Because, Lysara said, if the wrong hands control the link, they could turn it into a weapon of war, and you, human, are now the only living shield bound to a child of her bloodline. They moved quickly after that. Lysara patched the crack in the dome with strips of glowing fabric, though Marcus could tell it wouldn't hold forever. The hunters would be back, and next time they might not retreat. They left the healing chamber and entered a long corridor that curved downward. The walls here were darker, the glowing veins thinner. Marcus noticed strange shapes carved into the stone, figures with tall spears, standing over kneeling prisoners. The images seemed old, worn by time. Sira walked beside him, her small steps quick to match his. I'm sorry, she said suddenly. I didn't mean for you to be hurt in the market. Marcus shook his head. Not your fault. If I hadn't stepped in, you'd be gone. I'd do it again. She looked up at him, her silver blue eyes reflecting the dim light. That's why the link chose you. It felt your heart before I even touched you. Before Marcus could ask what she meant, Lysara stopped at a wide door made of black stone. She placed her hand on it, and it slid open silently. Inside was a small chamber lit by a single column of light. In the center, a stone table held a thin, glowing map. Lysara pointed to a cluster of symbols near the edge. This is where we are. The hunters came from here. She pointed to a dark, jagged mark far to the east. And this is where we must go if we want to break the link before they can use it. Marcus frowned. Break it? You said if one of us dies, the other dies too. Yes, Lysara said. That is why we must reach the Shard Temple. Only there can the bond be dissolved without death. Sira's voice was barely a whisper. If we break it, will you still protect me? Marcus didn't answer right away. He looked at her, then at the glowing map. We'll talk about that when we get there, he said finally. But deep inside, he already knew his answer. They left the safety of the dome before the twin suns rose. The air outside was cold and sharp, smelling faintly of metal and dust. The land stretched in rolling plains of silver grass, each blade shimmering faintly under the pale starlight. In the far distance, jagged black mountains clawed at the sky like broken teeth. Marcus carried the curved blade at his hip, his side still sore but healing fast. Sira walked between him and Lysara, her small hand wrapped around the crystal sphere. The three moved quickly, keeping low among the tall grass. Lysara claimed it would hide their heat signature from the hunters' sensors. They didn't speak much at first. The silence felt heavy, filled with the memory of the attack. Marcus kept glancing over his shoulder, expecting black armored shapes to appear from the shadows. Every rustle of the grass made his grip tighten on the blade. After an hour, the ground began to slope downward into a narrow valley. Strange stone pillars jutted from the earth, each one carved with deep grooves that seemed to hum faintly as they passed. Sira slowed, her eyes wide. These are old, she whispered. Lysara gave her a sharp look. Do not touch them. Marcus glanced between them. Why? What are they? Warning markers, Lysara said. Beyond this point, the land belongs to the wild. The warning proved true within minutes. They heard it first, a deep, rumbling growl that vibrated in Marcus's chest. Then the grass ahead shifted, parting to reveal a creature that looked like a cross between a wolf and an insect. Its body was long and low, covered in dark plates, with 6 legs that ended in hooked claws. 2 pairs of glowing yellow eyes locked on them. Lysara stepped forward, spear ready. Shield the child, she ordered without looking back. Marcus moved in front of Sierra, raising his blade. The creature's mouth opened, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth. It hissed, then lunged, faster than anything that size had a right to move. Marcus barely got his blade up in time. The impact knocked him back, his boots sliding in the dirt. The creature's claws scraped against his side, tearing the fabric of his shirt. He shoved it away, but it came at him again, relentless. Lysera struck from the side, her spear slicing into the creature's plated hide. It howled and twisted toward her, giving Marcus an opening. He slashed hard at its neck, feeling the blade bite deep. Black fluid sprayed the ground and the beast collapsed in a twitching heap. The air was still again, but Marcus's heart was racing. That thing could have torn us apart. And more will come, Lysera said grimly, cleaning her spear. The scent of its blood will carry. They didn't stop until the suns began to rise, painting the grasslands gold and the mountains black against the horizon. By then, Marcus's legs ached and his shoulders burned from carrying his pack. They found shelter in the shadow of a large stone outcrop, hidden from the open sky. Sierra sat cross-legged, holding her crystal sphere. Its glow had faded, but she stared into it as if seeing something far away. Marcus lowered himself beside her. "You've been quiet," he said. She looked up, her eyes serious. "I was thinking about the link. If we reach the Shard Temple and it breaks, will you leave?" Marcus hesitated. "Why do you think I would?" "Because that's what people do," she said softly. "When they're no longer tied to you, they go." He shook his head. "I'm not most people." He glanced toward Lysera, who stood watch near the edge of the outcrop. "Besides, I think I'd rather see where this whole thing goes." Sierra smiled faintly, but it didn't reach her eyes. She leaned closer and whispered, "They want me because I can awaken things. Machines. Weapons. My blood can unlock them. That's why the hunters won't stop." Marcus felt the weight of her words settle in his chest. "And the link means I'm the only one who can keep you alive long enough for them to get what they want." "Yes," she said, "but it also means you're the only one who can stop them." By the time they set out again, the suns were high. Heat shimmered across. The plains and the mountains loomed closer. But the land here was different, scarred as if something huge had once torn across it. Blackened craters dotted the ground and the air carried a faint chemical tang. They were halfway through a wide, shallow crater when Marcus noticed the grass ahead ripple in a strange pattern. It wasn't the wind. The movement was too even, too deliberate. "Lysera," he called quietly. She froze, scanning the ground. Her eyes narrowed. "Back. Now." The warning came too late. The earth split open beneath them, and massive jointed legs burst from the ground. A creature the size of a small ship rose from the dirt, its body covered in thick chitin, its mouth a ring of snapping jaws. The ground shook as it let out a roar that made Marcus's bones vibrate. Lysera shoved Sierra toward Marcus. "Run!" But Marcus knew they wouldn't outrun something that big. The beast's legs moved like pistons, each step sending dirt flying. He grabbed Sierra's hand and pulled her to the side, ducking behind a jagged rock spire as the creature struck where they had been standing. The rock cracked under the blow, shards raining down. Marcus looked at Lysera, who was circling to the creature's flank. She met his eyes and gave a short nod, the kind that meant be ready for the next move. Marcus tightened his grip on the blade, his heartbeat quickening. Whatever this thing was, if they didn't kill it here, none of them would make it to the Shard Temple. The beast towered over them, its body blocking the suns. Dust swirled around its many legs as it shifted, testing the ground with claws sharp enough to pierce stone. Its mouth, a circle of jagged teeth, opened and closed in a slow, hungry rhythm. The air shook with every deep breath it took. Marcus's first thought was to keep Sierra alive. He pushed her farther behind the rock spire. "Stay low and don't move," he said. She nodded, clutching her crystal sphere tight against her chest. Lysera moved like lightning, her spear flashing in the harsh light as she darted toward the creature's side. She leapt high, striking between the overlapping plates of its armor. Black fluid sprayed out, sizzling where it hit the dirt. The beast roared, spinning toward her with surprising speed. Marcus saw his chance. While the creature's attention was on Lysara, he rushed forward, gripping his curved blade in both hands. He aimed for the same gap she had opened, driving the weapon in deep. The blade vibrated in his grip as the beast's muscles clamped around it, but he pulled back before it could trap him. The creature lashed out with one of its legs, the impact, sending Marcus tumbling across the ground. Pain shot through his ribs, but he rolled to his feet, forcing himself to keep moving. Lysara shouted something in her language, and Marcus didn't need a translation. She was telling him to circle left. They attacked in a rhythm. Lysara's spear kept the creature's focus shifting while Marcus struck from the opposite side, cutting at weak points where the armor plates met. But each hit only seemed to make the beast angrier. Its movements grew faster, its roars louder, until the ground itself seemed to quake beneath them. Then the beast reared back, slamming its front legs into the earth. The shockwave knocked Marcus to one knee and threw Lysara off balance. The creature lunged toward Marcus, its massive mouth snapping open, rows of teeth rushing straight for him. Before he could move, a blinding white light burst from behind him. The beast froze mid-strike, its body locking up as if invisible chains held it in place. Marcus turned his head and saw Syrah standing in the open, her crystal sphere floating above her palm, glowing brighter than the sun's. Her voice was steady, almost commanding. "Now!" Marcus didn't hesitate. He surged forward, plunging his blade into the beast's exposed throat. The creature let out a final, shuddering roar before collapsing, its legs folding under its massive body. The ground trembled one last time, then stilled. For a long moment, no one moved. Lysara lowered her spear slowly, her breathing heavy but controlled. She looked at Syrah with a mix of shock and something like fear. "You should not have that much control over the link," she said sharply. Syrah's eyes dimmed as the sphere floated back into her hands. "I didn't use the link," she said softly. "This is mine." Marcus frowned. "Yours? You mean the sphere?" Syrah nodded. "It's called the Heart of Vera. My family has guarded it for generations. It answers only to blood and to those the blood accepts." Lysara's expression tightened. "If the hunters know you still carry it, they will send more than just warriors. They will send entire warbands." Marcus wiped black fluid from his blade. "Then we don't have time to waste." They dragged the beast's body to the edge of the crater, leaving it for the scavengers. The suns were dipping, lower, casting long shadows over the scarred land. Every instinct in Marcus told him they needed to move fast, but Lysara insisted on stopping long enough to check his wounds. "You took another hit to the ribs," she said, wrapping a strip of glowing fabric around his side. "You'll feel it tomorrow." Marcus shrugged. "I'll feel it now, too." Syrah stayed quiet during the rest of the trek toward the mountains. She walked close to Marcus, her small hand occasionally brushing his. Each time it happened, he felt a faint warmth, something beyond simple contact. The link, maybe, or something else entirely. By the time they reached the mountain base, the sky had turned deep violet. A narrow path wound upward between cliffs of black stone. The air was cooler here, the wind carrying a distant hollow sound like whispers moving through the rocks. "This pass will take us to the Shard Temple," Lysara said. "But it is watched." Marcus tightened his grip on his blade. "By who?" "Not who," Lysara said. "What?" As if on cue, small shapes began to appear on the cliffs above, dozens of them moving in perfect silence. They were thin, long-limbed, with pale mask-like faces and eyes that glowed faint blue. Their bodies clung to the rock like spiders, their movements unnatural. Syrah's voice was barely a breath. "Cliff stalkers." Marcus looked up at the creatures closing in from both sides of the path. "I'm guessing they're not friendly." "No," Lysara said grimly, lowering her spear. "And unlike the beast, they hunt as one." The nearest stalker tilted its head at Marcus, its eyes fixing on him with eerie stillness. Then it let out a high, piercing cry, and all of them moved at once. The cliffstalkers came down like a wave of pale limbs and glowing eyes. They moved faster than Marcus expected, scrambling along the rocks and dropping to the path in silence. Their claws scraped stone as they surrounded the three of them, forming a loose ring that tightened with every second. Marcus stepped in front of Sira, blade ready. Lysara shifted to cover their side, her spear spinning in tight arcs. "Stay close," she ordered. Sira gripped her crystal sphere, her eyes scanning the creatures with calm intensity. "They don't want to kill us yet," she said. "They're testing." One stalker darted forward, claws swiping for Marcus's head. He blocked, the impact ringing through his arms. Another came from the side, forcing him to twist and slash in a quick, tight motion. The blade cut into its thin chest and the creature leapt back, hissing. Lysara fought like a whirlwind, her spear taking down two more in precise strikes. But for everyone that fell, another dropped from the cliffs above. They were being pushed, backward, step by step, toward a sheer drop at the path's edge. Marcus felt the link stir inside him. It wasn't like the burst of strength from before. This was different, like a door slowly opening in his mind. He could sense Sira, not just near him but with him, as if her heartbeat pulsed in his own chest. Her voice was in his head, clear as speech. "You can move faster. Just stop thinking about it." He didn't question it. When the next stalker lunged, his blade was already in motion. He moved with a speed and precision he hadn't thought possible, dodging one strike while cutting another attacker across the throat. The movement felt almost natural, like the fight was happening in slow motion for him. Lysara glanced at him briefly, eyes narrowing. She had noticed, but before she could speak, a shadow passed over them. More stalkers were climbing down from above, sealing off their escape completely. "We need an opening," Marcus shouted. Sira stepped forward, raising the sphere. Its glow began to swell, but before it could flare, one of the stalkers behind her lunged, only to be impaled by Lysara's spear in a single brutal thrust. The path ahead shuddered suddenly. Loose rocks fell from above, striking the ground at their feet. Then Marcus heard it. Low voices, speaking in the hunter's harsh language. Shapes appeared high on the cliffs, black armored figures watching the fight below. "Hunters," Lysara hissed. Marcus's grip tightened on his blade. "They followed us here." "They were always ahead of us," Lysara said grimly. That was when it happened. The nearest stalkers suddenly stopped attacking, their heads turning toward the hunters above. One of the black-armored figures raised a hand, and the stalkers retreated, melting back into the shadows between the rocks. Marcus frowned. "Why are they backing off?" "They have what they came for," Lysara said, her voice tense. Marcus turned to check on Sira, only to find she wasn't behind him anymore. She was standing halfway down the path, the crystal sphere glowing faintly in her hands, and one of the hunters standing just a few steps away from her. "Sira," Marcus shouted, running toward her. The hunter raised his weapon, but instead of aiming at Marcus, he aimed at the ground. A thin beam of red light struck the path between them, and the stone exploded upward, forcing Marcus to shield his face. When the dust cleared, the hunter's hand was on Sira's shoulder. She didn't look afraid. She looked calm. "Don't," she said softly, her eyes meeting Marcus's. "This is the only way." "What are you talking about?" Marcus demanded, stepping forward. "The Shard Temple is a trap," she said. "If we go there, they'll break the link and use what's left of it to power their machines. I can't let that happen. I'm going with them so you can escape." Marcus shook his head. "No, not a chance." The hunter pushed Sira gently toward the path's edge, where a black skimmer hovered just beyond the cliff. Lysara moved to intercept, but three more hunters dropped down in front of her, weapons raised. Marcus's mind raced. If the link really was as strong as Lysara claimed, then letting Sira go meant they'd both be in constant danger. If they killed her, he'd die instantly. But if he forced her to stay, they'd never stop running. Sira's voice touched his thoughts again through the link. "If they think I'm with them willingly, they won't kill me. That buys us time." "I'll find you," Marcus said aloud, his voice steady. She smiled faintly. I know. The hunter pulled her onto the skimmer, and in seconds it was rising, vanishing into the mist above the cliffs. The remaining hunters backed away, disappearing into the rocks as quickly as they had come. Marcus stood there, chest heaving, blade still in hand. Lysara joined him, her face grim. This changes everything, she said. If they take her to their stronghold, it won't be long before they try to use the link against you. Then we don't have much time, Marcus replied. We're going to their stronghold. The hunter's stronghold rose like a black spear from the mountains. Its surface was smooth and cold, lit by thin red lines that pulsed like veins. No windows, no open gates, only a single landing platform high above the ground. The air around, it tasted like metal and ozone, and the wind carried a faint hum as if the entire structure was alive. Marcus crouched on the ridge with Lysara, studying the fortress. How many inside? He asked. Too many, Lysara replied. But the link will guide you to her, he didn't argue. Ever since Sira had been taken, the link had been a constant pull inside his chest, like a compass pointing straight toward her. It burned hotter the closer he got, and now it was almost unbearable. They waited until a black skimmer came in for docking. The moment it touched down, they moved, slipping from the ridge, crossing the open ground and climbing onto the skimmer's underside before the guards could notice. The lift carried them up into the platform's shadow, and when the doors opened, they were inside. The interior was all angles and darkness. Long corridors stretched in every direction, each one lit by narrow strips of red light. The air was colder here, and Marcus could feel the link thrumming in his bones, urging him left. They moved quickly, Lysara cutting down 2 guards with silent, precise strikes. They reached a tall, sealed door marked with glowing symbols. Marcus pressed his palm to it, and the door slid open instantly, the link overriding whatever lock had been in place. Beyond it was a wide chamber, its center dominated by a raised platform. Sira stood on it, the crystal sphere floating above her head, spinning slowly. Black-armored hunters surrounded her, their weapons aimed outward. One of them, taller than the rest, turned toward Marcus and removed his helmet. His face was pale, his eyes a deep crimson. "Human shield," he said in a voice like stone grinding metal. "You have come to die." Marcus stepped forward, blade ready. "Not today." The tall hunter raised a hand, and the others moved in at once. Lysara met them head-on, her spear flashing in the red light. Marcus pushed through the fight, every strike and movement fueled by the link's burning pull toward Sira. A hunter swung for his head. Marcus ducked, slashed upward, and kept moving. When he reached the platform, the tall hunter blocked his path. They clashed hard, each strike shaking the floor. Marcus's ribs screamed with pain, but the link drove him forward. He felt Sira's voice in his head. "Take my strength." All of it. The power hit him like a wave. His blade moved faster than his eyes could track, breaking the hunter's guard and cutting deep across his chest. The alien staggered, roaring in pain, but Marcus didn't stop. One final strike sent the tall hunter crashing to the floor, motionless. The other hunters hesitated, and in that moment Lysara cut them down with brutal precision. The chamber fell silent except for Marcus's ragged breathing. He climbed the steps to Sira. The crystal sphere dropped gently into her hands, and the glow around them faded. She looked at him with a tired but relieved smile. "I knew you'd come." "You didn't make it easy," he said, trying to hide the relief in his voice. Lysara joined them, scanning the chamber. "We don't have long. Once the others find the bodies, they'll seal the stronghold." Sira shook her head. "No. I can make sure they never use this place again." She placed the sphere on the platform. The floor lit up with lines of white light, spreading outward like cracks in glass. A low rumble shook the chamber. Marcus grabbed her arm. "What are you doing?" "Ending it," she said softly. "The heart of Vera can destroy anything it awakens. This fortress will fall." They ran. The halls behind them collapsed one by one, walls crumbling into dust as the white light spread. Explosions shook the ground, sending chunks of stone raining from the ceiling. The three of them burst out onto the landing platform just as the skimmer detached. Marcus shoved Sierra inside, Lysera leaping in after her. The skimmer dropped fast, the shockwave from the fortress's collapse chasing them down the mountain. A final blast lit the sky behind them, and the black spear of the hunter's stronghold was gone, reduced to rubble and smoke. They didn't speak until the skimmer was far from the ruins. Sierra sat beside Marcus, her small hands folded over the crystal sphere. "The link is still here," she said quietly. Marcus nodded. "Good. That means you're still alive." Lysera looked at them both, her voice calm, but firm. "The hunters will not stop. But today you showed them something they will not forget, that a human shield is not prey." Marcus glanced out at the endless plains below. "Then let them come. We're ready." Sierra leaned against his arm, her eyes closing. "We," she whispered, "are stronger together."